Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice as we have another PvP coming your way. It's going to be Stats going up against herO as these guys battle to try and find out if they're going to be able to jostle for that position here with Pig and Todd on my left-hand side. The band. All right, gentlemen, I got to ask you. We're going to start talking about Stats first. This guy at the moment doing very well for himself. Just came off the back of that 2-0 against Patience. And made it look relatively easy considering, in his interview, he said, Patience, really good PvP.
I mean, that's Stats though, right? He goes into every series, he respects his opponents, and Patience forces you to respect him because he beats everyone so much, especially in PvP. But Stats, there's a reason he's, the best Protoss in the world. A couple of years ago, people were like, he's the most consistent, but he doesn't really win championships. He just makes it to semis and finals. No, now he wins championships. He does really well. Last year, he was the BlizzCon finalist. He took the fight to serO there and at GSL versus the world. So I think Stats has been very consistent in PvP. But this is such a dangerous group because they're all Protoss players with very different styles.
Yeah, it shouldn't be surprising to see Stats do well, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's a group with a lot of Protosses, so stuff can happen very quickly, but so far, he's played really well, kind of as we would expect it, and he's looked really good so far on his way to try and make it out of this group, and I think it will continue.
Yeah, he seems like a calm player as well. Is that just me? Like when you're watching him playing, there's some moments where he's like, a bit intense kind of in the game, but for the most part, is that kind of veterancy status or is that just his mentality as a whole? Any kind of thoughts on that?
You're talking about Stats, right?
Yeah,
I feel like Stats is definitely someone who, he's got so many big stage experiences, and he definitely does look a little bit crushed every now and then, but he just has this like jolly exterior, right? Where he just seems to enjoy the whole experience. He kind of rolls with the punches a little bit. And I think it's also the fact that he plays what many would call the hardest form of StarCraft, right?
Protoss,
It's yeah, he has to both 1 and A. It's pretty tough. Luckily, he did rebind his F2 key to be closer. It's on his mouse now. But no, honestly, he plays defensive. Super defensive Protoss. Super kind of like he's the guy you learn reactive macro play from if you're a Protoss player wanting to improve. So Stats has always put himself in that position where he's like, I'm not going to take the gamble. I'm going to take the way to victory that requires me to work very hard for it.
You say like Stats, he seems like a calm player.
Yeah.
Who does not seem calm out of all of these players? Because they're all pretty calm.
Creator.
So I think he's calm, but like obviously he's a little bit more emotional than most other people. But like the way you said it, it sounded like there's somebody out there that's like dancing around when something happens.
What was that frantic gif of the intense gif from, or the video even, or the clip from?
Oh yeah.
Because when you were looking at them playing the game, they were all over the place. Oh, it was Reina versus.
No, that was Gumiho Raynor. Yeah. Two very fast players in a crazy movement.
That was like a special effect. That was a filter called StarCraft Intensity. They weren't actually moving at all, but the filter makes it look like they're all over the place.
It's like in like a sci-fi when like Star Trek's on the spaceship's getting shot and they just start shaking the cameras. It's like that. We just kind of shook the cameras a little bit, made it look like the players were moving around. They were actually just very chill.
So it was magical movie effects, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, we're trying to make StarCraft look like it's actually hard.
Yeah.
I'm in Patience against Zest, by the way, so I'll be keeping an eye on that.
Nice. Before we get that, we could potentially even look at that in a little bit moment's time, but let's talk about herO as well on the other side. He is 1-1 right now, going through all these motions of PvP. Is that kind of where you feel like herO should be here in this group?
Yeah. A couple of years ago, I remember being like, herO's the guy people aren't talking about. He's going to win Katowice. And he's always dangerous, and he can definitely be very good. Obviously, here he's on a quest to stay triumphant.
I was going to say.
It's a great team. Good to see them supporting him and stuff. But yeah, he's definitely a hard fighter. We've seen him show inconsistency in the past, so he's got to kind of just pull it together. What makes me feel good about herO is how he got here to the group stage. His path through those open brackets, he was almost out multiple times. Like, he had to make so many insane comebacks in GSL against Scarlet as well. 2 weeks ago, he was barely clawing his way back into games which most people thought were completely over, and were going to be a loss for him. So herO has the ability to fight back from behind. He's had a few near scrapes with death. As a player, though, you've only got so many lives. He can't keep letting himself get in that scenario. So he's got to kind of use that as motivation to tighten up his play and to stop himself falling into these games where he's basically out of it and he's somehow magicking his way back into the game.
At the same time, he might feel like he's a man with nothing to lose, like he's come back from death so many times, and just if he can look at the positive side and just keep on playing well, I think he might be able to make it out of this group, but it's so tough. Like, obviously, Special is the one having a hard time right now. And these guys, like, they're all still in the running because we are still in the first few rounds of it.
I mean, 1-1 after your first 2 PvPs here for herO. Is he really going to be able to stay triumphant? Is he really going to be able to move through in that top 3 spot? Because right now it looks...
Who was the loss to again? It was...
the losses were to Zest 2-0.
It was Zest,
yeah, and then obviously the 2-0 against Special.
It's the Zest loss. It's the freebie.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay,
I think none of these players is going to be phased if they lose to Zest or Stats necessarily in the PvPs.
Then there's 1 spot left, though.
Yes, brutal. Yeah, but I mean, if you lose one of those best of 3s to one of those 2, if you can beat the other one, it's going to be incredible. So, you know, I think it's definitely something where 1-1, it's early days.
Yeah.
The next series or 2 is very important.
Let's check in with Todd. Patience versus Zest currently going on his laptop because there's some things happening, Todd.
Yeah, both players opened with a Prism. They harassed a bunch, and Patience he's all out of patience right now.
Yeah.
He's going for the big attack. He went for Glaives. We had Zest go for charge, but right now he's having to make Stalkers, and it just looks like Patience might have too much. These Archons putting in some serious work here, actually. Ooh, can Zest hold?
Man.
He's losing a lot of probes, but if he can hold this, he was just killing a bunch across the map a second ago, so they're actually almost equal on walkers. That's been a sick game, like really action-packed, non-stop.
What is this?
Those units, when they were pushing forward, they clumped so much. The Archons were getting crazy splash, but Patience focus fire is so decisive there. He's going to just keep going for it. The Immortals, all 3 of them still alive for Patience.
Yeah, if those Immortals get cleaned up, though, that would be a disaster, but...
I mean, the problem is Immortals alive for both players, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look at these Archons dancing around on top. He's going to re-drop those in a moment, but they go down.
Oh, he's going to go for the Prism, and Patience.
Yeah.
Actually forced to tap out. That was a slugfest. Like, they were, before that attack happened, they were both being super aggressive with Prisms basically the whole game.
Yeah.
With the depths and all that, and Zest just keeps on being convincing here. I mean, we knew he was going to be one of the favorites to do really well in those mirrors, and so far he's completely delivering on that.
All right, well, thank you very much for the updates, and we'll keep you posted on everything that's going to be going down here throughout the tournament as a whole, because the laptop battle station is the best. For now, though, we're going to head over to the other best. It's the commentator desk.
Oh, thank you very much, James, at that battle station. I'm in control. That's Rotterdam, and we're ready to commentate this next match for you guys in just a few moments. It's going to be Stats versus herO. It's a good one.
Yep, and a big one for herO, of course. Like, yeah, you can say losing to Zest is not that big of a deal, but if you also lose to Stats, then it becomes a very big deal, because then you already rack up 2 losses. So this man, obviously looking very, very good so far. And I'm very happy for him, Jeff, because I still think he's so freaking good. And people start counting people out so quickly these days. You have one bad day. It's like, does he still have it? Oh, come on. He showed us through the entirety of 2018 that he absolutely does have it. And so far, things are going according to plan for Stats.
Yeah, they're at the top. The Stats and Zest both sitting at 2-0. They can afford to lose a series. This is kind of that pivotal moment, though. I think if you're 0-2, it's a must-win. Even if you're 1-1, it's that point in time where you go down to 1-2, you're kind of up against the wall. I think if you lose 3 series, you're just about out of this group. Unless some weird stuff happens. There's Stats. There's herO, the 2 handsome gentlemen. 2 of the absolute best Protosses going at it here in Group A. Yeah, go ahead.
On the left bottom side of Automaton, we're looking at the main base of the man that is 2-0 so far in his group. It is Stats.
Stats.
Still representing that beautiful yellow of Splice. Love the hoodies, love that shirt that he was wearing as well.
They got some good merch over there. On the right-hand side, speaking of good-looking clothes, it's herO. What is this team? Something stay triumphant?
Elephants triumphant?
Elephants?
Yeah, it's...
No, it's not.
Yes.
It's not elephants.
Okay, well, I think it is elephants, mate. I'm gonna take a look.
He's looking into it.
Triumphant Song Gaming. I was close.
Yeah. I was really hoping to be wrong, and I want it to be elephants stay triumphant is the, like... What, anyway.
I mean, why don't we have an elephant team?
Why is nobody representing elephants?
I know.
They got great memories. They bury their dead. They're wonderful. Standard openings here. We've been seeing a lot of proxy Stargates, and we're seeing the probe of herO kind of make its way out, both as a scout, I would imagine, but maybe as a meandering proxy as well. Actually, now that it's heading towards the middle map, I don't think so. You can see Stats Probe doing a very similar thing, I think.
Yeah, well, we've already seen a couple of proxy Stargates, like you said, and Stats seems to love them. there's a good chance that this is going to be one of them,
Oh
and
my
maybe
God.
this is going to be the second. I think it's so funny how the Phoenixes have completely disappeared while I see a lot of these builds, and I'm like, man, Phoenix openings would be so freaking good. Even if you proxy a Stargate, who cares? You can still open Phoenix over proxy Stargate as well. Makes it harder for your opponent to scout it. We'll see. I actually think Automaton is still a pretty good map to open up with Blink Stalkers. I know it's kind of fallen out of fashion a little bit, but if there is a map where I would be very comfortable opening up with 6 or 7 Blink Stalkers, it's probably this one.
Yep. You got a lot of kind of cliff-facing open area that you can blink up into, so there's a lot of entry points for those Blink Stalkers. And we're seeing a lot of different kind of things. So it ends up being that Stats Pylon is a mind game pylon. So sometimes if you're getting scouted and you're missing that pylon, you're like, oh no, they're proxying. But actually he did not proxy because he was, or excuse me, he did not scout because he was doing his own proxy. But it is going to be a proxy Twilight Council, which very often is, of course, the Dark Shrine.
Yep, but he's been making quite a few Stalkers. And there's also a sentry, I believe, already on this side of herO. Yes, there is. There we can see it. So maybe this is for Blink after all. We'll see. It would obviously be kind of weird now. That probe does go down, but it does confirm that there is a Nexus, and that's already a reasonable scout for herO.
I mean, I feel like, here's what I don't like about this proxy, by the way, is there's a pretty good chance it gets scouted by the hallucination. A lot of times you put that sentry exactly there. Now, if you look at the map, there's a pretty good chance that it goes right by it. In fact, we're going to see it right now.
Oh, it spots the pylon, but it doesn't spot the Twilight.
But doesn't see it now. You got to go back and check. And now you see the Chrono Boost, you see the upgrade, you see the gateway. It absolutely is Blink.
It's a good scout, but I don't think Stats can really do much about it, because Stats open up with a couple of Stalkers, the sentry himself. Do you really want to run to the other side of the map knowing that your opponent is going?
No.
Yeah, it's too risky.
You go on the defense.
Yeah, so it's a good scout by Stats, but there isn't really anything he can really do. Wow, did herO just take the gold? Jeff, what?
Wow, a man after not even my own heart. This guy's got guts of an elephant, for Pete's sake. Got a lot of them out there. Why not?
All right,
I mean, that's already critical tech, right? Like, if you lose that Twilight Council, you lose the gateway, you're just about dead when you're facing a top-tier Protoss like Stats, so double down on it. If you can't come out here and take this, if you get too defensive, then I'm going to leapfrog you in saturation. I'm going to be bringing a lot more money.
I love this shot, actually, so we can see a little bit of first person of both of them as well, but keep a close eye on those two adapts from Stats. There are 2 adapts shading towards the main base, and herO did not wall off. This is so painful. He has nothing. I think he has to recall at this point. If you don't recall, you're basically saying, okay, go ahead and kill 7 workers.
It's so funny. This is what you either love or hate about PvP, and I think this is the pretty unanimous hate part. We had a really interesting dynamic, and like this poke is okay. It's just not enough to do everything here.
Shield batteries are so freaking good. Yeah, you've got
Immortal comes down, says get out. Yeah. But with that kind of damage, look at the difference in workers. 32 to 18. Holy, I mean, in any matchup that's bad, in a PvP, it literally is leave time. Like if this was a ladder game, I think herO would just exit.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Maybe shoot at the Immortal ones.
He's going to blink up. He's going to blink up and see what he can get done.
But the army of Stats is just so strong now. Now, there is a chance at least that it goes a little bit better here, because there are no shield batteries in the main base. He actually doesn't kill any of the 2 Stalkers.
Oh, he does stop that Immortal from popping on. That's kind of funny, but it is too much of a force. Yep. And his only vision up here to keep in mind, because he doesn't have a robo unless he built one while he wasn't looking, is hallucinations. So when he hops down like that, that's about it. That's all he's got.
Is there anything left in the main base of herO? Nope. I mean, that can shade in and actually get 2 or 3 additional probe kills as well. herO's pretty dead here, Jeff. You called it, and I think herO just feels like he needs to make something happen right here, right now. You can maybe say, maybe he can saturate the gold base and then research charge and then just try to win with 1,000,000 zealots, but
this
seems like a long shot right now.
Like, the sentry comes over and actually loses to that adept, but I guess with the damage from the probes it won't. But that's also game-ending damage, just the missed mining time. So I guess all the action's going to be these Stalkers over here, unless herO just wants to leave. And no, the gold base doesn't make up the difference, by the way, in case somebody in the chat's like, he's got the gold base, Jeffrey! It's like, no, it's not enough. He's 26 to 38 workers. No.
And there is no follow-up for herO. It's not like we're buying time for a Disruptor or that he has really good upgrades, that the Forges are spinning. Nope. It's just these Stalkers, and Stalkers are good to control the pace of the game and to maybe pick up some reinforcements, but eventually you want something else in a straight-up battle against Immortals and even a couple of sentries in the mix with Guardian Shield, which Stats has plenty of. I mean, herO is in a very, very gnarly position. I think he's just gonna blink forward. That's the only thing he can do. He's gonna blink into 3 Immortals. Highly unlikely this will ever go well, but he had to do something.
Had to try something. It's just not gonna be enough. There's Hallucination, which could have given him the option of maybe going to high ground, but that's gonna be canceled out here in a second. There it is. And even the cheeky Adepts, like maybe my Shade can get in there, but no, probably not. Or, wow. No, it's not gonna be enough.
No, it doesn't even get the one.
And they're fighting. He's gonna blink away. The Immortals backed up by that Warp Prism and his own blink finishing soon for stats is the Axeman. There's just no coming back from this. So he's gonna push forward here. The gold was the one, like, I guess I'm kind of in the game because of the gold. He does get the Warp Prism, but guess what? The standing army is actually too strong.
Yep, that's very nice. He gets one of the Immortals as well, but he pays the price with 4 or 5 of his own Stalkers, and herO still being down in workers. These are just not trades that he can make. He knows it. GG. Stats takes a pretty convincing game 1.
Yeah, and you can see that pressure starting to mount a little bit. I love the production we got going over here. You can see those player cams at all times. herO looking a little bit more nervous. He is sitting at 1-1 in this group, so he's right smack dab in the middle, but I love the analysis over at that desk. They're talking a lot about, hey, Zest stats probably pretty good to get 3 or 4 wins out of this group, and if they do that, that's 2 out of 3 potential spots. So if you're sitting at 1-1, you dip down to 1-2, that's where it gets to be really scary as to whether or not you've got more of a life in this tournament.
Now, we've been talking a lot about why top 3 is so important, but I think one thing we didn't go over that much yet is that the format that we're using right now is the same as last year, guys. So yes, 3 players will advance, but there is a massive difference between finishing first or third. If you finish third, you have to play in the round of 12. I know that's a little bit weird, but that means that basically you're going to go up against a second place finisher of either Group B, C, or D. Now, that can already be very bad because the second place finisher of Group B could very well be a Dark. Or maybe in Group C, it could be Innovation or herO or Rogue. Yeah. So if you make it out top in your group, if you finish first, you'll get seeded directly into the quarterfinals. So A, you make way more money, and B, you skip a very, very tough opponent, and you're 1 round closer to the grand finals.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about this yet because it's a little ways out, but when we say make more money, by the way, did I see that correctly? That the winner of this tournament's getting $150,000?
That is correct, Jeffrey.
We did a winner-take-all Katowice a few years ago, and that was $100,000.
And we thought it was crazy. Yep.
Yeah, it was like insane. Now it's even more than that by a lot. Anyways, we'll get there in a moment, but before we do, let's talk about some of these guys. On the top right-hand side, the blue Protoss from Splice, it's stats.
He's going to be feeling so good right now. 2-0 in best of 3s, a very convincing first game there against this man. He's going to really need to turn things around if he wants to make it into the top 12 of this tournament. It is the one and only herO.
A little bit more of a nervous energy to him, but that's actually he's kind of always been that way. He even played a little bit of swagger and confidence a few years ago when he was the nemesis of the Pro League. It was always kind of CJ bringing him out, and he would just dismantle people right and left. It's been the smiling assassin for a while, but it's kind of, you know, it depends on how you look at it. It's interesting though, right, Roddy? Like some of these players that used to be so dominant, it's not like they're worse or they fell off. It's just that this game has always had this ability to be like, no. Now it's the year of herO. Now it's Stats who's just hitting his stride. And some of these players kind of usurp the former champions, and you know, it's sad because a lot of times the way we talk about him is like, oh, remember when he was like really good? It's like he's still really good. It's just that these other guys got better.
And it's often playstyles as well, right? The dominating playstyles of 2012 or 2013 are but nowhere near the dominating playstyles of 2019. Right now, it's all about how solid are you, how much can you switch it up? Are you comfortable on every stage in the game? Can you win 25-minute plus games, but at the same time survive the aggression at the 10-minute mark? If you're that guy that likes to make a couple stalkers to the other side of the map and use Warp Prisms, you can still win games, absolutely. But are you going to win a tournament? No. You need to have more than a few aggressive builds up your sleeve.
Now, I anticipate this to be a Stargate this time around. Twilight Council would be some interesting mind games, though, because it's like what he just faced. He was like, you won't expect that because I'll do your thing, but I'll do it better. But we're going to wait here a second. Stalker Sentry is the standard. The Sentry coming out, being able to scout what you're facing immediately is such a powerful ability.
I love how Stats open up Stalker Sentry with a proxy as well, and he's indeed going for that Twilight Council. But this could actually be I mean, okay, it is extra stocks on the way, so there's a chance it's going to be Blink. I'm a slightly bigger fan of Blink on Automaton than I am of New Repugnancy, because this map is quite a bit smaller. And as good as Blink is, it's not that powerful in the straight-up fights.
It's gonna be Blink, Kevin.
Yeah, and this is one of those maps where if you make like 2-3 sentries, one Immortal is all you need to run to the other side of the map as the player that goes up against Blink. So we'll see how stats execute it. Now, obviously the good thing about this map is that it does allow your Stalkers to blink into the main base. As over here on the left side where this probe is getting chased down. There's quite a bit of surface area where maybe Stats could blink into the main of herO if herO wants to make one of those pushes. And maybe in that way Stats can buy enough time for himself.
So it will be Blink, and there is a idle probe top left that gives me pause as well. It could just be a forward pylon eventually. A lot of times, by the way, you might be wondering why all the proxies. It's because how prevalent and inexpensive that sentry is, and you're absolutely going to scout your opponent. You're gonna. There's almost never enough coming off those gateways to shut down a hallucination. So you scout everything. That's why you build it out in the map. And actually, it's kind of worth noting, herO has 3 sentries here, and I can't remember which Protoss we saw earlier. Actually, I think it was Stats last game, but it's been in a few of these PvPs, we're seeing 3 sentries, which is just like forever scouting, but it's quite heavy.
Now, I assume that herO is about to build a robotics facility, otherwise his build is absolutely mental. That doesn't make any sense, because so far it's only those sentries of those 2 gateways, and now he goes for a forge. So probably a quick +1, but to me, at this point, you're almost forced to get a robo, because everything else is going to be too late. Stargate doesn't really have an impact anymore. Twilight upgrades is going to take a very long time before they kick in, and you need something to eventually fight Blink Stalkers as well. As good as sentries are to scout, you don't really want to fight too many Stalkers with your sentries. So at this point, I really feel
5
herO,
sentries.
herO needs to get a robo, man.
He's going to get aggressive. There's no way you make 5 sentries to be defensive, I don't think. This actually might just be literally Stalker sentry, and he's just going to push across.
I would have loved it if it had one Immortal in the mix, but just this army, I don't know if that's going to be good enough.
Yeah, and there's the pylon, and it gets spotted immediately. This is devastating. There's no robo. There's no warp prism. That pylon gets canceled. Now he's going to walk units across the entire map. There is no other pylons.
But why? Why are you letting your sentries be this exposed? Like, what is the best thing you're hoping for here?
Yep, and Stats will fight out in the middle of the map. He says, go ahead, use your Guardian Shield, use your Force Fields. This is not the real engagement. I'm just slowing you down. And I believe herO's going to back out of this. We saw the robo at the natural. We see gases being added. Anytime a Protoss player starts building probes, adding gases, that means they don't believe they have an attack. And even this gets picked up. Stats, it must be nice, right? Like, everything's going really well for him right now.
Nope, everything has been going perfect in this entire best of 3. I love how herO's like, so those 2 adapts that you made in the previous game, they were super random, but they basically killed me, so I'm going to do the same thing. And then obviously with herO's luck, Stats is right there with a couple of Blink Stalkers. Now obviously herO's not going to die here, guys. His army is definitely powerful enough to defend almost everything. It's just that he delayed his stack a lot, and he was absolutely hoping for a little more than what he actually got so far.
Yeah, I mean, the 5 sentries, the further we get into the game, what they function as is constant scouting, which is nice, don't get me wrong. But the timing of that, like, herO sacrifices all tech to get out that. And this gets found again. Roddy's just kind of shaking his head. Now, on the flip side, his do get caught as well.
Ooh. Little ambitious by Stats to shade 2 adapts into the natural of herO when there's an entire army right there to deal with it.
Yeah.
That was a little too much, but even though herO's up in supply, I'm not really feeling this game for him so far. He's quite far behind in tech. There's even the Templar Archives already being wiped in. And you said it, the longer this game goes on, the worse all those sentries become. Well, the moment you have 4 Archons in the mix, they're pretty much useless other than Guardian Shield.
And this hallucination should see the 3rd with the Explosion de Gateways, as well as the Templar Archives. And I think that's the worst news, right? Because when the Templar Archives finishes, now we have Archons. So the 5 sentry advantage you have is essentially 5 sentries for a Guardian Shield, which is, again, not very good. So what's the X Factor going to be? herO's going to have an Immortal or 2, and then probably a Warp Prism. He's actually adding a 2nd robo.
I love this. I mean, herO needs to do something weird right now, because if herO would do the exact same thing as Stats is doing, he's always going to have less, and it's always going to hit later. There's no point in playing the same game as your opponent right now, because it would just be highly unlikely that he would ever get a favorable fight, so he needs to switch it up. And I love it, Jeff. I mean, it's a little bit of a wild play. I really hope it doesn't get scouted now. That'd be so sad.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
The flank of Immortals.
Don't push him there. No, your Immortals are pushing him towards your attack. No. Okay, well.
He lives on that razor's edge, man. Whew. These elephant players, am I right? stampeding around. But yeah, the second robo there, you might be asking why the second robo there. It's because even if the second robo gets scouted inside of herO's kind of infrastructure, that alone is a tip. It's like either you're going Mass Immortals, which is kind of weird. That's not really something people super do in the PvP matchup these days, or it's Colossus or, you know, Disruptor like this.
The only thing is, though, that obviously herO needs to buy time, right? Because one, a Disruptor is nice, but it's not going to change everything. Two is probably not going to be enough either. He basically needs to survive until he can get up to 4 Disruptors.
Yeah.
And if he can then reveal it to Stats, then Stats is going to be in a little bit of trouble.
They build quick.
Yeah,
they build really quick.
They do build quick, and I love that he's out on the map, you know, pretending he's like, you know, we're going to do the same thing. So I'm just testing the waters here with my own Blink Stalkers. But all that herO is really doing here is like, please don't attack me, please don't attack me. But he's achieving that so far.
Yep. So far, he's got him pinned back here a little bit. And I'll tell you what, Disruptors are especially good against Archon Zealot. Now, it still comes down to the engagement. If you are fighting out in mega open space, and you're not hitting those big connections, it flips on its head pretty quickly. Also, if Stats can get wind of this, he can start adding Stargates for Phoenix. It's a very hard counter to that, but he still doesn't know.
Nope. And that is a very, very big problem. There's Warp Prism speed being researched as well, so herO is actually going to try to be very funky. Has to be a little bit careful because there are still Blink Stalkers out on the map. And if he loses 2 Disruptors in the Warp Prism, he will never have enough at home. I mean, even right now, his army is so much smaller, he's going to need magnificent Purify Nova connections to even dream of holding.
Yeah, it's good to be out on the map and be aggressive, and he definitely is winning kind of the intel game, but, oh god, it's a Rotterdam Zealot. But that being said, yeah, he's going to have to spin a recall here. Actually, does he spot that tech lower right, by the way? Kind of cute. Might have. Anyways. Yeah, he did. Yeah. That's kind of funny. But the Stalkers are now working away at this third. The Disruptors are going to have to be revealed because this is a real attack.
It's 1, 2, 3.
There's more behind this.
Alright, well.
The Warp Prism kind of exposed there. Disruptors are actually kind of far back.
And we've got 3 of them. Zealots do like to clump up quite a bit. herO is going to shoot the first one quite quickly. Be careful, herO. You really don't have too many of these shots. The second one is better, but I still feel like he needs more than this.
Yeah,
oh my
goodness.
On a third. Just whiffed again.
And that one is pretty good. But it's still mostly Zealots and Stalkers.
Okay, that's a nice one as well. He takes out all of the Blink Stalkers. And suddenly, I mean, yeah, Stats. He's going to get this Nexus. He got quite a few.
He lost the 3 Disruptors.
Oh, okay. Well, there's still one in
there's 2 up there, and then there's more coming out. But losing the 3rd here is a big deal. Because Stats can pull back and say, fight me in the middle of the map where it gets really wide open. I have way more money than you as of right now, and I'm going to start teching to answer for those Disruptors.
And I love this as well. Obviously, what Disruptor players don't want to face as he's going for a double Purify Nova. Does blow up an Archon there and a Zealot or 2. But I like how Stats is going to spread this out. Stats knows that A is richer, B has way more units. So let's do this. Let's warp in both 7 units here and see who enjoys that more. Well, Stats is going to enjoy that a lot more because he actually has the resources to do that kind of stuff.
Some more free units getting picked up in the middle of the map. Stats up in army supply, up in workers. 3rd not remade yet for herO. So this kind of harass is devastating.
Yep.
Does he get to clean up the Warp Prism? It's going to be very close. Oh my god, it's 4 health. Oh, wow. Now behind us, we can get a look at the production tab. It is Stargates, and I imagine it's the second one. Yep, there's a Phoenix being made. Now, it's not going to be a significant amount of Phoenix here early at the beginning, but keep in mind, they too build fast, right? Like 5 or 6 picking up the Disruptors. That takes the teeth out of herO's army. That's all he's got is that tech, and here you can already see it.
And that's very nice as well. He picks up one of those Disruptors there, so herO loses another one of his Disruptors.
Let me up! Let me up!
herO has no plans of re-expanding, apparently, Jeff. He's just going to go for it. This is where herO wants to win the game. And if he had 6 Disruptors, there's actually a chance that he can get that done. But he's just been losing quite a few of them already, that it seems highly unlikely. Stats is going to come in from multiple angles. And even if he hits a very big Disruptor hit, 1 is not going to be enough. He's going to need like 3 or 4 massive ones.
And they're going to get canceled out here. The Phoenix are just circling right off to the right. Here comes that full surround.
Sick.
You're not going anywhere here. You're facing the beast of this group. Stats is going to clamp down on this army. The supply tells the story. Get out, herO. You've got your back up against the wall. It's going to be a tough one. He's going to try to pull back here a little bit, but there's nothing. There's no 3rd. There's no tech. You can look at the production tab. He's given up essentially on life. I don't know what that Warp Prism was doing, and neither does it, but that's it. GG's called out. herO's going to say, I've had enough. Stats moves on to be 3-0, 6-1 in map score. Very good.
So much for that random matchup, eh? I mean, Stats is just playing incredibly well. Things are going his way. He's getting perhaps a little fortunate here and there, but I love a lot of the decisions based upon the information that he has. Obviously, we see everything. I really feel that he's making almost all the correct calls. He's He's just on point, man. He's playing incredibly clean. He's analyzing things very well. And the execution, I mean, even that final engagement, was it a little overkill because he was most likely going to win anyway? Sure, but it looked pretty.
Yeah, it's still good to do it the right way, though, right? So not a bad showing here from Stats. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you are excited for some more PvP, because we definitely have some more of that coming your guys' way. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, this group keeps on marching on.